UFC Fight Night, Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze 2 was this past weekend. I'm going to be giving my full recap on the entire card, starting with the very first early prelim all the way up to the main event, starting with Carly Judice versus Yanisi Duben. Yanisi Duben got the win, or got the loss. She was the underdog on the Contender Series who got the unbelievable overhand KO to win against the really highly touted Canadian prospect. The one that looked like a man and looked like Kayla Harrison, and she's Canadian, so she obviously can't win an actual fight. Yanisi Duben was 6-0. I picked her, and I was wrong. Carly Judice absolutely fucking slept her with a KO, with a head kick. It was absolutely nuts. I cannot believe that happened, especially in a women's MMA fight. But no, it was actually picture perfect. I mean, it was a beautiful high kick. Yanisi Duben looked like she was outclassed on the feet. And Carly Judice, she's shown ability on the feet throughout her career. So this wasn't a complete shocker. I was thinking about picking her, but I went Yanisi Duben, just the safer pick. And what do you know? We got it wrong. She's now 4-2. An unbelievable record of 4-2, Carly Judice. Yanisi Duben, 6-1, gets her first O. It was somewhat close on the feet until the KO, but great work from Carly Judice. Maybe she can get back in there soon and build off this one. Her first big win in the UFC. Moving up the card, Josiane Nunes versus Priscilla Cachoeira. Cachoeira. I should have. I was fucking right on this pick. A lot of people pick Nunes just because she looks like a man. You know, she can wrestle. She has short hair. She's Brazilian. You know the gist. But Priscilla Cachoeira, and she's taking a lot of damage to her career. Nunes didn't look terrible. It was actually a war until the uppercut KO. They were just fucking charging at each other with no actual skill, and it was really fun to watch. And Nunes would just kind of dive her head in sometimes, and Cachoeira finally caught her at the end of it with an rear uppercut. It was beautiful, and it wasn't like it was a TKO stoppage. Man, she put Nunes out. It was brutal. Great win from Priscilla Cachoeira. At this point in her career, getting a big win like that, staying in the UFC. Josiane Nunes should get cut. I think we can all agree on this, but maybe not. A good one from Priscilla Cachoeira. Moving up the card, Daniel Perez versus Andre Lima. This is a pretty easy one. Andre Lima, undefeated. He went out there. He showed. I predicted this fight pretty well. I did say it was going to be a decision because that's all Andre Lima's really shown us. But he had completely outclassed Daniel Perez on the feet. He's bigger than him. He was stronger than him. He shucked him off. He was just being very. He was just bigger and better in there, and he was beating him up. He had good moments of control time, and then he was able to get him with the submission towards the end of the third round, or I was in the middle of the third round, sorry. And it was a really good win from Andre Lima. Finally showing that finishing ability that we needed to see from him. Submission made a lot of sense. 3-0 now in the flyweight division. 3-0. Moving up. Definitely a name to watch out for now. Andre Lima, good win. 11-0 now as a pro. Daniel Perez didn't look terrible, but he just did not look good enough, especially at this age, to be a true prospect of flyweight. And we all knew this. But Andre Lima getting the win, proving it, and he looks really good. 3-0. I wonder who they're going to give him next, but definitely potentially a ranked opponent, maybe a Charles Johnson, or someone just outside the rankings, maybe a Cody Durden, or, we'll see something like that. Moving up the card. Stephanie Luciano versus Sam Hughes. Guys, I don't know why I'm lagging so much. Guys, this is what Sam Hughes does. All right. I predicted it. Everyone picks Luciano because, Luciano's the prospect and all that good stuff. This is what Sam Hughes does. All right, Sam Hughes, she's going to out maul the prospect. It was actually a very good fight, actually. This card showed out. I forgot to say, what a fantastic card. I mean, this was a great card, top to bottom, really, in terms of finishing ability. Until the top, we'll get to that. Um, but this was actually a really good fight between both women. Sam Hughes was just more active. She was a little bit more active on the feet, getting her against the cage, getting some strikes off, getting some extra control time, landed more total strikes. And, she split decision the shit out of Stephanie Luciano, and it was impressive and not surprising to me absolutely at all. Stephanie Luciano has no potential in this division. Sam Hughes does what she does, and she will stay in the UFC and do it to someone else if they're not good enough. We'll see the next time she fights. Moving up the card, Carlos Vera versus Josias Musasa. Ugh. Musasa, Jesus, this dude, not that good, not that good at all. Carlos Vera, man, it was almost like a Bruce Leroy, the Alex Caceres, where he likes to kind of hide, lean one way off of the punch, and then he just hides this head kick right off the rear, and just fucking slams it into his opponent, and the opponent will generally slip right into it, and they'll get caught, and that's exactly what happened by Musasa. He went down. He was still kind of with it, but he completely, he went down on his knees, face first, so he was kind of like, his back was out. Vera was able to jump on his back, get the rear naked choke. It was a really good KO by Carlos Vera, but again, if you're Musasa, you can't be getting KO'd by a guy like Carlos Vera if you're actually going to be a prospect. I mean, this guy was I don't even remember the odds, but it was ridiculous. The odds were absolutely ridiculous. And, Vera was like a plus 500, 600, underdog or whatever. Like, it was sad. And Musasa maybe cut him. I mean, he's 8-0, gets his way into the UFC, and then goes out there and gets slept in the first round of his first fight. Pretty much slept. Do we keep him? Nah, I don't think so. Carlos Vera, he's old. I can only think back to that Conor clip of like Conor's like dancing. He's all drugged up during the Ultimate Fighter, and he's like walking behind the prospect on Team Prospects, 36-year-old Carlos Vera, or 35 or 34 or whatever he was at that time, walking, or he's 37 now. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Good win from Carlos Vera. Maybe he'll make a run. No. We'll see who he gets matched up with, maybe like a Muin Gafarov or something like that. But a good win from Carlos Vera, and Musasa should get cut. Moving on. Su Young Yu versus, I get that right? Yeah. Su Young Yu versus AJ Cunningham. This was a domination. Su Young Yu, I don't know. I think I picked Cunningham. I don't even remember at this point. Cunningham, he looked like shit. And Su Young Yu just controlled him, ground and pound, and he was able to get the decision. He decisioned the shit out of AJ Cunningham. AJ Cunningham, we could say is based, but, he took the L. I don't know if I can side with him anymore after that one. Su Young Yu absolutely exposed him. Good record, Su Young Yu. We'll see what he does from here, but just good win, apex win, in my personal opinion. Moving up the card. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Ryan Spann. Okay. I picked Ryan Spann. And I know what you're all going to say. Oh my god, you're so stupid. Oh, you're so fucking dumb. Oh my god, you're fucking autistic. Yeah. Okay. I accounted for the lighter weight skill, which is true. The lighter weight skill is absolutely a thing in the UFC. If you do not think it is, you are simply in denial. It is just that. Sorry, I forgot to put the background up. I just realized I'm having a long day here, guys. I'm recording a bunch of videos today as I put out. I wasn't able to really get this video recorded as early as I would have liked, obviously, but whatever. Lighter weight skill exists, and but Ryan Spann, he didn't have any of that lighter weight skill. He didn't have his 220-something pound body where he was cutting down to light heavyweight and he had almost a six-pack. He added an extra 10, 15 pounds of fat to his stomach and then said, okay, now I'm a heavyweight. I really don't understand what goes through these guys' heads. Like, any of these people that move up weight classes, like, sometimes I see them and I'm like John Jones. especially for his first heavyweight fight. Dude was out for 3 years. He shows up at heavyweight with a big fucking fat beer belly. Like, he didn't, bulk up to heavyweight like he was saying he needed to for Francis. But as soon as Francis left, But I'm not going to get all into that because all the Jones dick riders will, sue me. But lighterweight skill exists, and Ryan Spann, I forgot to, think about the IQ of Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann is stupid, and he has no awareness of what he can do, and I should have never predicted him to get a win in Big 2025. Waldo Cortez Acosta actually showed a lot of ability in this fight. He looked so much better than Ryan Spann. And he really looked like a guy who can really be he looked like the next fucking Marcin Tybura or like Sergey Spivak. That's what he looked like to me, honestly. That's what I think this guy's going to be in the heavyweight division for the next, 8 years. Is he's going to be just kind of roaming around and beating some guys and losing to others. And, he'll probably be a 1 or 2 fight win streak, 1 or 2 fight losing streak, and then back and forth. But Waldo Cortez Acosta, great win. Knockout at the end of the second round, hit him with the right hand, I believe it was, off the ground and pound. Good win. I like his call out of Derek Lewis. Tai Tuivasa is apparently out until 2026 for some reason because he's too fat. So I like the Derek Lewis fight. Get that booked, or trying to think of like who else. Maybe the loser of Mick Park and Marcin Tybura later this week. Wouldn't be a bad matchup. Unless, if Parkin beats Tybura, maybe a Tybura, Waldo Cortez Acosta wouldn't be a bad matchup. But yeah, I'd say that's it. Moving up the card. Sungwoo Choi versus Kevin Vallejos. Oh, yes, Kevin Vallejos. I called this fight perfectly, but I think every single knowledgeable MMA fan called this fight perfectly. Kevin Vallejos is so much better than Sungwoo Choi. Sorry, I know his name. There's already the other Korean guy on this card. I can't get them all right, guys. Sorry, they always put all these fucking Korean guys on Apex cards. It's so weird, isn't it? The last time they didn't was fucking Doohoo Choi. Anyway, yes, Sungwoo Choi, he stands straight up. Terrible matchup for a guy like Kevin Vallejos who ducks down and parries and slips and throws the right hand behind it. He looked great. He looked like a mini Ilya, as everyone's been saying. He's got that similar style. He's a little different. I feel like Ilya goes to the body more, but Vallejos looked good. And he's going to be. I really hope that one day we see Kevin Vallejos versus Gene Silva 2 So Kevin Vallejos, that's the only man he lost to in his entire career, is Gene Silva. That fight would make a lot of sense at like a number 1 contenders fight, or even a title fight way later down the line. Both these guys match up with each other. Kevin Vallejos is 23. This guy does not need to rush into anything. He should be around the UFC for a long, long time. He's extremely skilled. His boxing's insane. Yeah, a fantastic win from Kevin Vallejos. A star is born, truly, and he's gonna be a force in this division for a long time at featherweight. So he is small for the division. That's his one thing, but no need to rush. I'd like him back in there. June, International Fight Week, maybe August or July or something in that degree. If you maybe have a South America card, a Brazil card, or something like that, early of the next half of next year, or of this year. I think that'd be a good time to get him. But Vallejos, definitely top Argentinian prospect. This dude is going to be a force throughout the division, and definitely a name to watch out for. Moving up the card, Dr. Nurgaje versus Brenson Ribeiro. Dr. Nurgaje looked terrible. I don't know what happened to this dude. I watched him on the Contender Series, and he looked good. But Brenson Ribeiro just looked better than him. And just the tick that Dr. Every single, second. He had done it a few times, but he was, he just kept rubbing it. I know you've heard this from everybody, but it's true. Like, he looked it was just weird. And he didn't look as good at all. Brenson Ribeiro exposed him. And he missed weight by 5 pounds. I don't understand. 4 guys missed weight on this card. I believe it was 4. So, like, what are we... I'm definitely worried that these Apex cards are starting to almost create a lack of motivation for these fighters. Like, some of them, of course. Not all of them. But some of them are absolutely like, man, I'm getting fed to a prospect on a fucking Apex card. Why am I going to try on this camp? Like, obviously, like, you want to win. As a competitor, you want to win. But it wouldn't shock me if these fighters aren't putting their all into it because they understand they're fighting at the Apex and they're fighting some dude who's fucking, like, I just feel like that definitely plays a factor. And I think it's starting to show a little bit more. This card was great in the end, but a lot of weight misses. It's really, really odd. Especially recently. I don't know what's going on with the UFC, but, like, there have been a lot of weight misses recently. Q1's been a failure, guys. As I said, moving up the card. Damon Blackshear versus Cody Gibson. Great win from Damon Blackshear. I think this fight truly showed that his grappling is on another level than we thought it was. He already had good grappling, but I think this fight really did show that he's a high-level grappler. He had a really close fight with Mario Bautista almost 2 years ago now in the Boston card, and he had fought like he fought like a week or 2 weeks before that and got a win, and I believe that was the Twister win that he had. One of his last fights was against Montel Jackson. I was about to forget his name. Which obviously Jackson slept him early in that fight, but Montel Jackson is a ranked bantamweight. If Montel Jackson goes out there and wins his next fight, Damon Blackshear is absolutely going to be... Well, his only loss to Montel Jackson, which hasn't aged too poorly, and Mario Bautista, but that fight was super close, and Bautista is now a top 8 bantamweight. So, Blackshear should definitely get a look towards the rankings. Maybe not a ranking, but, an unranked, a high-level unranked guy. Chris Gutierrez, or... they'll probably revoke that fight with John Castaneda, actually, so maybe not that one, but I don't know. Give him a better fight up in the bantamweight division, and let's see him against some better competition. Damon Blackshear, he's faced some tough guys. He's had really close fights, and his grappling ability is really, really, really high level, and I can't wait to see what he does next. We gotta be quick with these next ones. I have kickboxing in fucking 25 minutes. Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holobaugh. This was a robbery. I thought Holobaugh won the last 2 rounds. I believe it was the last 2. Yeah, I believe it was the last 2 that I had Holobaugh winning. But I knew Holobaugh won 2 rounds, and it was close. Holobaugh was doing a little bit better in the boxing, and he was cracking Hernandez with the left hook. Hernandez was doing a decent job getting his right hands across, but Holobaugh was getting more of a reaction out of Hernandez than Hernandez was out of Holobaugh, that's exactly the opposite of what I expected. Hernandez gets given another win. He had takedowns and he had some control time, but he didn't. I don't feel like he really did much damage with them. And Holobaugh was absolutely piecing him up on the feet and did more damage overall. So I felt Holobaugh won the fight, but it was close. It was a close fight. But I think it was obvious enough that we can call it a robbery. And sad for Kurt Holobaugh because he doesn't really have too many opportunities left in the UFC at his age. But we'll see what happens with him. Hernandez gets a win. We'll see what they do with Hernandez. My guess is maybe a Mick oral buy or something to that degree for Alexander Hernandez, which he would get absolutely cooked if he had to fight him, but we'll see what they do with Alexander Hernandez. Very close fight. Moving up the card, Chidi Njokuani versus Alessi Zaleski dos Santos. Okay, I picked Alessi Zaleski dos Santos. God, man, I'm so white. Njokuani, the size was absolutely an advantage for him. This was the first fight where Zaleski looked a little. He looked like he'd slow down. ZDS looked like he really slowed down. Um, Much more than he usually does, and I really felt that he could have done a lot better in this fight. But Njokuani, big dude for the division. Um, his kickboxing looked really good. I believe he missed weight though, so you know he needs to show that he can make weight before we can really start giving him a good matchup at welterweight. But this was a good win. This was absolutely a good win, and I'm interested to see what he does next and what the UFC gives him. But they're definitely gonna have to give him somebody else at welterweight. I'm trying to think of who they could give him. Who could they give him at welterweight? I'm not sure. Definitely someone up there. I don't want to say a Randy Brown. I don't know if that is quite what he deserves yet, but definitely someone up there at welterweight. All right, moving up the card to the main event. Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze 2. Okay, I'm going to be relatively quick with this one. This is a good fight. I think I'm hearing a lot of people shit on this fight, and there's good reason to. For these two guys to be top middleweights, top people that weigh, 200 to 210 pounds realistically, but can weight cut to 185. These two being top 10 guys in that division is kind of insane. And the skill definitely did not match that. But I do feel that, it was a good scrap, I feel like, for the moments I was awake. I'm just kidding. No, it was they were going back and forth, and it was a fun fight. They were scrapping with each other. Vettori, his chin will never be cracked. If he does, it'll be way later in his career. But this is a huge win for Roman Dolidze. He went out there, he won the decision pretty clearly. It was relatively close on the numbers. I was surprised that this fight completely stayed on the feet. I thought Vettori would at least try to mix in some takedowns of Dolidze. But, they're both kind of almost even-keeled in terms of their grappling skills with each other. So I understand, you put two wrestlers together, you're going to get a striking fight. So it makes sense. But a huge win for Roman Dolidze because this has really helped Roman Dolidze out. Because Vettori's matched up with a lot of the top middleweights. He'd be kind of in a similar situation to Jared Cannonier, and that would fuck up the division. But with Roman Dolidze getting this win, Dolidze's probably going to get a huge matchup now. It's, he might get a Whitaker matchup. He could absolutely get a Whitaker matchup. I don't know what's going on at middleweight. We obviously have Dricus versus Hamza. And then we have, that's all we really have planned right now. Imavov is he said that he doesn't want to wait. He says he would rather stay active. Maybe he fights in September. Maybe he fights sooner than that. September on a France card, or he fights sooner than that and fights someone else. But Imavov definitely deserves the title shot if he waited. I would completely understand. But my guess is he will fight someone, and if they give him anybody, it wouldn't be a Whitaker, it would be a Caio Borralho. Even though Borralho doesn't really deserve it because he just beat Cannonier, Imavov beat Cannonier, and then he beat Brendan Allen on a win streak, and then he beat Adesanya. Different levels, but Caio got a good win over Cannonier, and, they both beat Cannonier, so I wouldn't be shocked if they just give Caio Borralho and Imavov fight next, and then we see a Whitaker versus Strickland, and then Izzy has to fight down the rankings. Or, we see an Izzy versus Strickland too, and then we see a Whitaker fight down the rankings. One of those is going to happen. And the guy who's probably going to get that jump up the rankings is going to be Roman Dolidze. Unless he moves up to light heavyweight, which I think he could actually have a lot of success at light heavyweight. But Dolidze, if he wants to stay at middleweight, Israel Adesanya might be the next fight, or Robert Whitaker. He might actually get a big fight, because I think what we're going to see is Fluffy versus Jared Cannonier. Because then, we can't do Cannonier Dolidze. I would rather see Fluffy versus Cannonier and then do Dolidze a jump up the rankings. Now that he's on this huge win streak and he's gotten a little bit of a run, he's beaten some big names. Whether these guys are good or not, he beat Kevin Holland, he beat Anthony Smith, and now he's beat Marvin Vettori in a main event. In the rematch, that was very close, and he, lost in the first fight. He avenged his loss. Vettori, Brendan Allen, I think, is the fight to make now. These guys hate each other. It's the time to make the fight. They're both on two fight losing streaks. And it just makes sense. And Vettori looked like he's not adding anything. he threw his 1-1-2, and Vettori threw a fucking back fist off the right hand. And I mean, like, the rest of the fight, Vettori, I was waiting for him to shoot, or waiting for him to even throw a body kick or something. Like, I just felt that the matchup on the feet was just a lot more lackluster than I expected. And, yeah. So, definitely a little bit disappointing in terms of that. But it was a decent scrap. Both guys went at it. And, yeah. It's a very decent fight. Good win by Roman Dolidze. Vettori versus Brendan Allen should be next, and then Dolidze versus Whitaker or Adesanya. Whoever doesn't get matched up with Sean Strickland should get that Dolidze fight. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to record 2 more videos later, but I got to go to kickboxing. So I will see you later. Bye.